Hey everyone, it's me, Gavin, and welcome back to the Backlog Bunker. I'm gonna cheat a little bit this week and talk about something that I didn't necessarily play this week, but that I played over the time I was away, and that was, I was replaying Spider-Man 2018 on PC, and when I originally played the game, I had always been kind of like alright on it, cause it's a very generic game, and it's got a lot to do in it, so much so that I didn't even feel like 100%ing it when I first played it. But having replayed it now, after having played games like Devil May Cry or Metal Gear Solid, that are very focused on their genre, like action or stealth, it's made me realize exactly why I didn't like Spider-Man all that much, and it's because it's a mile wide but an inch deep, you know, the old saying, where it has so much to do in it, but all the stuff that you actually do isn't very engaging or, you know, deep. It's got action, it's got stealth, it's got puzzles, it has traversal, it has all of these different things for you to do, but all of them kind of are alright. they're okay at what they do. The stealth is just, you hit guys into the air, and then you keep hitting them until they're dead. The stealth is just go around and hit guys if they're not detected by other guys, and then eventually you fight them anyway, because God forbid we have a Batman Arkham situation where your stealth is like actually stealth and you get punished for breaking stealth. The puzzles are certainly interesting when you first get to know them, but then the more of them you do, you realize that they're all kind of the same, and they're really fucking easy. Like, I remember when people were complaining about, like, the chemistry puzzles or whatever, and before I had played the game, I had thought to myself, like, yeah, that sounds pretty annoying to have to do all the time when when you're not in the mood for it. But then when I actually played the game, you get to the chemistry puzzle, and they take you like what, 2 minutes at most? If you're really stumped, you might take 2 minutes on the chemistry puzzles. Otherwise, it's just you line up the lines where the lines go. You know? and the same goes for the electricity puzzles where you're making the circuit. It's at worst, you might have to redo like 1 or 2 panels. Otherwise, you'll probably get it first try. The puzzles are not that hard, and they're certainly not that deep. And then it becomes those criticisms where, like, the initial statement is something you agree with, but then the reasoning just makes no fucking sense. Like, if someone said, the puzzles in Spider-Man 2018 suck, I would go, yeah. And then when they follow it up with, they're boring, and they take away from the parts of the game that I like the fighting, I would go, I mean, that's almost right. And then they would go, yeah, the puzzles were too hard. And I go, wait a minute. And so it's honestly kind of weird to be this disconnected from, like, most gaming controversy. Well, okay. Controversy isn't the right word, and also it's not really that weird to be disconnected from it, because I'm always disconnected from it. I don't like Breath of the Wild, and that's like, that's like the game for people. It was the game for 6 whole years until fucking Tears of the Kingdom came out. So I lied, it's actually not that weird to be disconnected, but it is something that I observe frequently, where people are like, this thing sucks in a game, but then their reasoning is like, absolutely bonkers. Which applies to Miles Morales too, because a big complaint people have with that game is that it's too short. But then when I played Miles Morales, which at this point was ages ago, I might make a retrospective about all the Spider-Man games after I finish 2, but when I played Miles Morales, that game being short was one of the best parts, because it didn't overstay its welcome. This is not to say it couldn't have been longer. Between making the game even shorter or making the game longer, I would always choose to make the game longer, at least in terms of Miles Morales. But I would rather play Miles Morales literally any day than before I would play 2018, which is for multiple reasons, but the length is definitely a part of that. And Spider-Man 2018 gets especially annoying with it when it comes to a lot of the repeated content, which is mostly in terms of side content, but it's all across the game. Like, the hairy puzzle bunkers or whatever, I'm pretty sure there's 2 different ones where you have to swing through smoke, and there's 2 different ones where you have to swing around and, like, shoot webs at, like, holes or whatever. I think one of them's for water, but the other one's, like, putting out a fire. But they're the exact same gameplay. Just because they put it in different contexts doesn't make it, you know, any different. Same goes for that one side mission where you have to look for the college kids that were, like, taken over by Mr. Negative, where the actual substance of the mission is you go to a place and you fight some guys, and the context is different, sure, but the entire game is going to places and fighting guys, so I don't really give a shit. And while I do say that the whole game is going to places and fighting guys, a lot of my problem with 2018 is that I can't really think about what the gameplay loop is, or what the core gameplay loop is, I should say, because off the top of my head, I would say going to places and fighting guys, but again, the game is very, very long, and they make you do a whole lot of bullshit, so I struggle a little bit, because between the fighting, the stealth, and I would kind of loosely say the traversal, but that's not really a huge part of the game. I can't tell you what the intended experience in 2018 is supposed to be. Is it supposed to make you feel like Spider-Man? Because ironically, it doesn't do that. I know that, you know, making you feel like X is the meme, but the Batman Arkham games do make you feel like Batman. you're making frequent use of gadgets, you're doing stealth when you have to scare the fuck out of people, but to the point where it's astounding to me that it took them until Arkham Knight to make fear an actual mechanic, but that's why Arkham Knight's the best one. You can fight me on that one, you'd be wrong. And even combat is all about finding a rhythm and making sure no one ever touches you, which is way more fun on the New Game Plus. I think it's only a New Game Plus. It might be a difficulty thing. But whatever it is in Batman Arkham, where you can turn off the counter markers, and it does make you feel like Batman because you have to intricately watch people and go, this motherfucker's gonna attack right now. The reason it makes you feel like Batman is such a meme is because that doesn't really tell you anything. You would have to go into, the things that I just said, like how the stealth makes you feel, how the action makes you feel, the things you actually do in the game. Just saying it makes you feel like Batman is shorthand for people who may not even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. So that's why it's a meme. But in Spider-Man, it feels like they ended the conversation at makes you feel like Spider-Man, because the swinging is you hold the button down and you press jump sometimes. The action is you press the hit button and then you press the dodge button sometimes, and you don't even have to do that. The stealth is that you crawl on the ceiling and then sometimes you press the X button and then sometimes you press the Y button, and you don't even have to do that. The footage that I'm probably going to end up using for this Backlog Bunker is footage of me playing the DLC, which I did not play the first time around, because again, the first time I played the game, I didn't even care about 100%ing it. I beat the game, and I didn't even bother doing the DLC because I didn't care. I wasn't interested in playing the game anymore. But because I never played it, I decided to play it this time around, and it's the same game. And I don't even mean that just from, like, the combat and stuff, which it is. I think the most interesting combat encounter was in the museum, where it's like, don't let them steal the shit, but that's just fight guys but faster. But then even in the overworld, they have you doing the same shit. Going to places and looking for a place to press L1 and R1 to grab a fucking artifact or whatever, which is just the backpacks again. The gang crimes, which are just crimes, but again. And they still did the same stupid shit from the base game, where you have to do 5 crimes per district to be able to 100% it. Which is fucking stupid, because you have to wait at least 10 minutes if you even want to get all of them to spawn. And they're all the same thing. There's only 3 crimes. Why are you making me doing 5 of them? This is the shit that I'm talking about when I say the game is repetitive. They want you to do 5 crimes, but they only made 3 of them, so they knew that they were going to have to repeat some of them, yet they did it anyway. I'm still going to try to finish the DLC at some point and 100% the game just so I can put it down forever, but I don't even know if I'll ever talk about it on the Backlog Bunker again, because the entire reason I initially come up with this series is because I had a lot of thoughts about games like while I was playing them that I thought I would want to put out onto the internet. But with Spider-Man, I didn't have many thoughts about it. And granted, you could argue that's because I'd already played the game before, but during the entire month I've been playing the game while I wasn't here, actually, no, month plus 2 weeks, because I was back for a week, and then I was back for another week and made the Yakuza 7 Backlog Bunker, and then I'm back again for this week. So, in the month and 2 weeks that I've been away playing the game, I didn't have any, introspective thoughts about it. Again, mostly because I've played the game already, but also, even in terms of the new stuff is the same as the old stuff, so there's nothing for me to even say about it because the game isn't very deep. I initially gave the game an 8 out of 10, but I'm thinking of dropping it to a 7, maybe a 6, because the game just isn't really that good. I've sort of become more strict with the scores that I give out in recent times because I've played more games over the years, and so the more my horizons expand, the more I realize the things I already played weren't all that great. I initially gave Spider-Man an 8 because I thought it was a good game, and for me, a good game was like an 8. But the more I play games, the more I realize a 6 is fine, you know? A 6 is on the upper half of the scale, so a 6 is a good game, but if it's a game like Spider-Man, where I don't have anything special to say about it, and it's okay, I would never play it over anything else, I can't give it an 8, you know how high an 8 is? That's 2 away from 10! Even Octopath Traveler, a game that I generally don't really like, does a lot of really good things with its systems that make me put it at an 8. I think I dropped it to a 7 because Octopath 2 made me realize there was a lot more problems with the game. But the overall point is that I have something to say about Octopath Traveler. I have nothing to say about Spider-Man, and so why would I give it a score that high? So I'm probably going to end up dropping it, which means that I'll have to replay Miles Morales at some point, because I gave that game a 9, and as much as I do like Miles Morales over Spider-Man, I don't know if I can really say that Miles is a 9 when the original game's a 6. I might drop Miles to an 8, because the 8 is actually representative of the things I might have liked from Spider-Man, but a 7's probably equally as likely. But moving on to more Marvel stuff, this one's a bit more of a downer because I'm dropping Midnight Suns. Not because I don't like the game, I do want to play more of it, I'm interested in that game's combat. The problem is that, as I might have mentioned on the previous Backlog Bunker where I mentioned it, this game crashes like a motherfucker, and it is so annoying to have to return on my PC every single time the game crashes, and the game crashes every single time I fucking play it! And I am just so tired of having to deal with that. Midnight Suns is a good game, but it's not that good that I'm gonna deal with this bullshit for however many hours it takes me to beat the game. I'm just not gonna do it. So maybe I'll come back to it one day if they ever fix it, doubt it, or if I ever get the game on Steam or something where it's slightly less buggy. But for now, it's just not gonna get played, because I can't deal with that anymore. I'm insanely disappointed with Firaxis. I know that they do other stuff like Civ, but I don't play Civ, so my only solace right now is to trudge my stupid ass back to XCOM 2 and keep playing that for the rest of the time, because we're never getting XCOM 3, and the only other game that I like from them, which was Midnight Suns, doesn't fucking work. So to move on to a Marvel thing that I actually liked, let's talk more about Marvel Rivals. I know it's like the third episode I've made about it at this point, but I'm still playing it, so... I just wanted to mention a thing that I thought about melee heroes, which is that the disparity between how good they are is kind of wild to me. You have characters like Iron Fist that require no skill at all. You point and click and the enemy dies. For some ungodly reason, he has a lock-on with his melee attack, so you just don't ever have to act. You don't even have to point and click, you just have to click. Actually, I don't even know why it's a point and click. You just have to click and he'll do the rest for you. He has a block that makes his attack even fucking stronger. He can fucking fly, and he can heal himself. He's the best melee hero in the game. He's one of the best heroes in the game, period. But then, you slide on over to Black Panther, and he's one of the worst heroes in the game, allegedly. I don't play him at all, but I keep hearing from other people that he's one of the worst. And when I actually see him in games, he definitely feels like he's one of the worst, because he's ineffectual at best, and selling his own team at worst. Because he has to use like every single one of his abilities to get some good damage in, and then he doesn't have enough mobility to like really escape most situations. So even if he does manage to get a kill in, he usually dies right after anyway. Then there's characters like Thor, where swinging the hammer just feels like an afterthought at best. When you're playing Thor and you're getting damage in, you're either throwing Mjolnir or you're using his enhanced state to throw projectiles. Swinging the hammer itself is just not very good at killing. I don't think I've ever gotten killed by a Thor just swinging his hammer, and I don't think I've ever gotten kills as Thor just swinging his hammer. Though I don't play Thor anymore anyway, because I think he kinda sucks. But then back to the like good melee heroes, there's Spider-Man, which granted, he is very much balanced out by his difficulty, which I wouldn't say is particularly high, but it's more than Iron Fist, which I guess isn't saying much. But with Spider-Man, you do have to put work into making his melee like actually good, because what makes Spider-Man good is his jank-ass hitboxes and the fact that he's so mobile. So Spider-Man swings in, uses his Spider Fist to launch everyone up in a way bigger radius than you would think, and then he can go off from there. And you're trying to balance Spider Tracers and melee attacks to really make the most out of your damage, but he still has to aim his Spider Tracers. And even when he wants to like web zip to people, he still has to aim that too, and it's very, very thin. So Spider-Man is very much balanced out in terms of his melee, but he is one of the better melee heroes because he can actually get in close and then get out and not have to worry about much. And then Cap is funny to me because the reason why he's one of the best melee heroes in the game is because after only 2 melee attacks, he gets a projectile that he just doesn't have to aim because the shield bounces off fucking everything, and I think just auto-aims itself sometimes. But the reason that's so funny to me is because Cap is one of the best melee heroes in the game for the express reason that he becomes not a melee hero after a little bit. I wish Cap was better in general, because I do like playing him, but sometimes it feels like I'm selling as a tank when I'm playing as Cap, because that shield does not have enough health and is way too small. And I understand that part of the reason they made it small was because it has reflective properties, so it would be kind of fucked up if they made it a huge shield and then it reflected all projectiles. But I feel like they could have made the reflect an ability or something, because, yeah, having my shield... either having to have my shield down because I need to recharge it, or having my shield down because it got broken, and then I'm just standing there looking like an asshole playing as Cap. It's just not very fun. Then the only melee heroes that I can't really speak on are Magic, Hulk, and Wolverine. Hulk, I think, is just a little underpowered, because I don't think I've ever really been in danger of fighting a Hulk. Even in monster form, I just gotta, like, back away, and he doesn't really seem to be able to do much. Then Magic, I think, is pretty good, because I've gotten absolutely fucked over by a Magic invading the backline and then just going off. And I initially thought that Magic was kind of lame, especially when I was trying to play her, but in looking at how other people play her, I realized that she can teleport way more often than I thought she could, which makes her really, really hard to catch. And then Wolverine, who I think is okay, but I keep getting told is really good against tanks, but I'm not sure why. I think one of his attacks, or maybe his rage mechanic, has to do with damage based on max HP, which would obviously be better against tanks, but I don't know what that is. I thought it was his ultimate, but maybe it is his rage mechanic and then his melee attack. Otherwise, can't really say. And then the two characters that I thought I should mention in case that they do come up are Reed and Venom, who are technically melee heroes because their attacks have a very short range and are connected to them. But Reed's melee attack is really, really far for a melee attack, to the point where I don't think it should really count. Like, the whole point of classifying melee heroes as melee heroes is that they have to get really close to be able to do damage. That's what makes them a melee hero. If you don't have to get close, it doesn't matter what kind of fucking hitboxes you got. You're not a melee hero if you can hit me from across the goddamn stage. And the same goes to Venom, just to a lesser extent, because it's not quite as far as Reed's, but it does still go pretty far, and it does do headshots, so I think even the game counts it as a projectile of some sort. That's really it for Rivals. I just want to talk about melee heroes, because I find the disparity between them very, very funny, and if they add more melee heroes into the game, I am interested to see how exactly that goes. The Thing will probably be a melee hero, unless he has a Thing blaster that I'm not aware of, and I don't read the Fantastic Four comics yet. So if the Thing has a Thing gun, then I guess I'll find that out later. But he should be a melee hero too, and I'm interested to see how they deal with that, and not just making him the Hulk again. Or any speedsters they might add. I've talked with people about what I think a speedster would look like in the game, but I'm interested to see how they might finally implement one if they ever choose to, because they would probably also be a melee hero, but much like Spider-Man, they should have the ability to just get in and get out, because they're a speedster, you know? But we'll see. The game has a very long future ahead of it, I presume. And a small thing that I feel like I should mention is that I replayed Sonic Adventure 2, which I outlined this on Backlog.com, but I didn't think I was ever going to replay the game, because the only reason I'd even played them in the first place was because they are like the Sonic games, that everyone fucking knows them, but I'd never played them before, and so I wanted to see if they were good, and I don't think that they are. And I played them on stream ages ago, and that was like my conclusion, was that they're not very good. I didn't think I was ever going to replay them, but I was listening to the OST for the game, and I was like, actually, I really do want to play Sonic Adventure 2 again. And this is unrelated to Movie 3, a side note, I didn't like that very much. I was listening to the OST for the game, and I got to Security Hall's theme, I think, and I was like, damn, this song fucks. And so I started listening to more of the OST again, and I added more of it to my playlist, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll play Sonic Adventure 2 again. And funny story, my opinion did not change at all. I still think the game is as middling as I thought it was before. Though I will admit I do think more positively about some things, but I also think more negatively about other things. Like the speed stages, for example. I think I have a higher opinion of them than I did before. Like Sonic's last stage, I don't remember what it's called. I think it's either Crazy Gadget or Final Rush, but whatever Sonic's last stage is, I have a higher opinion of it now, because when I had initially played it, I didn't really understand how rails worked, because I didn't know that you just hold crouch to go faster, which I saw people having a spat about this on Twitter ages ago, and they were like, how do you not figure out that crouch makes you go faster? And it's like, because I don't skateboard, I would figure maybe that if you made your center of gravity lower, it would make you go faster, but I'm also playing a video game. It's not necessarily realistic. So when I see press the B button to do a thing on a rail, I assumed that made you go slower. Not only because the B button is usually associated with the braking, but also because in other Sonic games, or at least more modern Sonic games, rail grinding is automatic and it goes at a certain speed. I wouldn't think that they would implement a thing to make you go faster. In my head, I would think, oh, there's got to be some way to brake, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to control anywhere you go on a rail. But I will admit that it's my fault for never having pressed it to actually find out what it did. So when I initially played Crazy Gadget, again, Sonic's Final Stage, I don't remember what the name is, but when I originally played Sonic's Final Stage, I thought it was kind of middling, because the rails are just like whatever if you're not going fast enough on them. But in replaying it, now that I know how the rails work, and now that I have a general knowledge of the stage, it is a little bit more fun. I've always kind of fought back against the opinion where it's like, oh yeah, Sonic games really only come to life on the replay, because I don't think that's really how games should be. They should be fun on an initial play and on a replay. Like, okay, to be specific, they should be good on initially playing them and only become better on replaying. If a game is only good after you're replaying it, that's a different viewpoint than you had originally, because now you know everything, and that's going to change how you view things. Even talking about it now makes me realize I should add that to my list of topics to one day put on the series, is when does a game need to be replayed? Is it developer intentions? Is it just how the game works? However that works, I'll need to have a grander discussion about that some other time. But for now, I'll just leave it at, I didn't really like it at first, but I like it more now, not just because I've replayed it, but because I understand the game, how the game works, and I didn't the first time. And the more ambitious you are in Sonic's Final Stage, the more fun it becomes. Because I think the problem that I had when I initially played it was because I wasn't having fun with the game, and I was streaming it. And when I stream games, I kind of feel this need to get it over with, because I'm not fantastic at entertaining live, and my chat isn't exactly bustling with hundreds of viewers for me to constantly go back and forth with. So I feel this need to, if I don't have a lot to say, I need to at least play the game quicker so that I'm not sitting here on the same stage for the next 20 minutes. And so I wanted to play the game safely, because if I lost all my lives and have to restart the level from the beginning, that's just wasting more of my viewers' time. So again, I feel this need to play safer and not do anything like that crazy, because I was streaming it. But in playing the game on my own time, where I was like, fuck it, if I die, I die. There's nothing stopping me. I'm playing this game while I'm at work anyway. I don't have shit else to do. I played a little bit more dangerously, but playing dangerously is what that stage wants from you. You're supposed to constantly be jumping from rails and making huge launches and going at top speed. That's what makes that stage fun, and I only realized that in playing it on my own, which is why I get afraid of playing certain games on stream, because I don't really want to play a game for the first time on stream, because that will alter my perception of the game, and evidently it has. But I can't just always play games I've already played on stream, because that'd get boring quick, especially for me, where a lot of my commentary, when it comes to games I like, is, man, this sure is good, isn't it? It's why I'm much more negatively critical than I am positively critical in terms of like the things I talk about, because I find it way more easy to talk about things I don't like, because anger or frustration is a natural reaction. I can just go, I don't like this because of X, Y, and Z. But if I like something, it takes a little bit more introspection to really delve into why, and I can't do that live, and it's already hard for me to do that when I have time to collect my thoughts, and it's even harder to do that live. So, to make a long story short, I might have ruined Sonic Adventure 2 for myself by playing it live. However, that doesn't really apply, because as I stated previously, my opinion of the game didn't really change. I liked the speed, I liked Crazy Gadget more, but the rest of Sonic stages were about as good as I thought they were before, and Shadow stages actually became worse, because I didn't really think about it the first time I played the game. I was just like, yeah, Sonic and Shadow are the same, whatever. But of Shadow stages, they kinda suck. Shadow's stages peak at Radical Highway, which if you don't know, is the very first Shadow stage. So, the very first Shadow stage is the best one, and they only get worse from there. Rail Canyon, or is it Wild Rail? Crazy Rail? No. The desert one. The desert stage the Shadow's in, that one fucking sucks. Green Forest is about as good as Sonic's, and Shadow's final stage sucks dick, because it's like Sonic's, but without any of the rails, and it's only stupid shitty unfun parts, like the gravity tubes, which these crazy stupid fucks brought back for Shadow Generations, because that's the part everyone loved about Sonic Adventure 2, was the gravity tubes, that nobody likes. They're like the fucking barrels from Sonic 3, where it's like up and down, what the fuck are you talking about? I say all this to say, while I did appreciate at least a small bit of Sonic's campaign more, Shadow's campaign actually became worse, and everything else I thought about the same as I did before. The boss fights all suck, etc, etc. To shortly go over Knuckles and Tails, the treasure hunting stages are actually not as bad as I thought they were going to be, because when I played it on stream, I was playing it on PC, so I had mods installed that it did the Emerald thing, where you can find them in any order, which is like the biggest criticism people have against Sonic Adventure 2's treasure hunting stages. But in playing them on my Steam Deck, where I didn't have mods installed, they were fine. Harder without being able to find them in any order? Sure. But, I mean, they were about the same as I felt about them before, so I can't really say it was all that different. The thing that I did realize, though, upon replaying them, is that because the Emerald order is randomized, it's entirely possible that the only reason I didn't think they were that bad this time around was because I got a good randomization. Because Security Hall, I remembered Security Hall being fucking awful when I played it on stream. But then, when I played it on my own, I got two of the Emeralds that were just like out in the open. I think one was in an enemy, and then one was just on a wall somewhere. And the stage went by fine. I think I got an A rank in every single one of Rouge's stages. And it could just be because I got good randomizations. If I got bad ones, would they have been worse? I don't know. Maybe. But that's why my opinion of the treasure hunting stages hasn't really changed. The randomization and the strict order is always bad. It's just that sometimes it's not as bad to play. And the mech stages I have a worse opinion on, because I've always thought that they were the worst gameplay style in SA2, but I thought that they were, like, slightly worse than Gamma in SA1. But in replaying them, there are more annoying enemies and more annoying stages that the mech stages have to deal with in this game. And in general, it's just not good, because you point and click, and you go forward, and the stage ends. What's the interesting part about the mech stages in SA2? I genuinely mean this. Again, this series is always supposed to have been like a sort of question and response thing, but I don't have a huge audience, so there aren't a lot of people like hurrying to my comments to be like, here's what I thought about this section of this video. But I need Sonic Adventure 2 fans to come out like the Yakuza fans did, which still astounds me, but I need Sonic Adventure 2 fans to come out like the Yakuza fans did. Please tell me what the good parts of the mech stages are. Do you even think that they're good at all? Because even when I talk to some Adventure 2 fans, they'll tell me, like, oh yeah, the mech stages suck, but the game's still good. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how you can hold that opinion, and also think the mech stages suck dick. But because they're a third of the game, more than a third if you're playing the dark route, where I'm pretty sure Eggman has most of the stages. But whatever, it's fine. I've long since given up on trying to squeeze any sort of like actual criticism out of Adventure 2 fans, because I've just accepted at this point that some people are gonna like bad games. It happens all the time, and if I threw a fucking fit over every time it happened, I wouldn't get anything done. So here we are. And in terms of the last thing that I played this week that I want to talk about, I bought my third copy of Dead Cells. Well, okay, technically third copy of Dead Cells. I don't want to sound like some crazy motherfucker who just keeps buying the game over and over again. But the very first time I played it was on Game Pass, which I only paid for like a month before I gave up on it, because Game Pass just does not have a lot of games I actually wanted to play on it, and some of the games I didn't want to play on it are games that I wanted to, buy and keep. So I wasn't gonna play them on Game Pass, and Dead Cells was one of them. I played it for like the entire month that I had Game Pass, but then when I stopped having it, I decided to buy it on Switch because I like Dead Cells. But then a new problem arose, and I realized my mistake when I realized that the Switch actually sucks dick, and I would very, very frequently get frame drops on that thing. So playing Dead Cells on the Switch wasn't very helpful. Now, luckily, the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, and I'll probably be able to transfer all of my games over, and so hopefully it'll run better on that, but then I'll just have a second copy of Dead Cells that I won't be playing, because now I have it on PC, and I've been playing it on my Steam Deck, and it's been a hell of a time, because Dead Cells is a fantastic game, and now I have all the DLC, so I don't have to worry about missing out on content. And considering this is the third time I've owned the game now, this shouldn't really be that surprising, but I think I got to the Hand of the King and killed him in like my third run. Or at the very least, I know it wasn't my fourth run, because the tutorial knight wasn't dead yet. And it surprised me, because I struggled a lot with only one boss cell. I never got past that on Switch. And so beating the Hand of the King on my third run ever on PC, considering I haven't played the game in quite a while, because I don't really play my Switch mode a lot nowadays, so the last time I played Dead Cells was probably like a year ago. But still, it surprised me how fast I did it on PC. And though I think a lot of it might have been due to the weapon I got, because I got the Sonic Carbine, which, for those who don't know, is a ranged weapon that's just an auto-fire, and so you can just point and click and have people die in front of it. But the two things that made it especially good were, A, I chose the mutation that does more damage if you're far away from an enemy, so I had like a 50% damage increase on everyone that I shot. On top of the fact that it does critical damage if there are any enemies on the other side of enemies you're shooting, because it also goes through enemies, by the way. So even if there are multiple enemies in your way, you can just shoot all of them, and they'll all take the same damage. Sorry, no, not all take the same damage. The first enemy will take the same damage, but everyone behind them takes extra damage. And the one thing you have to worry about with ranged weapons in Dead Cells is ammo, because if you just keep shooting, you'll eventually run out of ammo, and you have to kill the enemies you're shooting to get your ammo back, or get up close to them, which is a risk in and of itself. But the Sonic Carbine is so good at killing, I don't think I ever ran out of ammo once! So to make a long story short, I like the Sonic Carbine, and it allowed me to get one boss cell very, very quickly. And hopefully I finally get my second boss cell, but we'll see how that goes. Two things that I wanted to mention about Dead Cells before we finish up that is, one, the Castlevania DLC is really cool. For one, Castlevania music is awesome, the stages were awesome, and the bosses were awesome. And the weapons are Castlevania weapons, so you can fill the rest of that one out. Needless to say, I thought the DLC was really, really good. I haven't finished it yet. I still have to fight Dracula, which is what I'm doing on the run that I'm going to be doing literally the second after I finish recording this. But yeah, I've been enjoying the DLC. The only thing that I don't like about it is from a meta perspective, where I'm loving this Castlevania DLC in the video game Dead Cells, but man, wouldn't it be awesome if I could play a video game called Castlevania? Wouldn't it be awesome if there was a series of video games called Castlevania that wasn't relegated to fucking nugget kissing in other video games and a TV show that's not very good? It was very good for those first like 4 or so episodes. Whatever episode ends with Trevor and Sypha, or is it Sypha or Sylvia? I think it's Sypha. But them fighting the demons off, and Trevor like finally pulls out the vampire killer for the first time. He's like, what, it's magic. After that little conflict, the show becomes way, way worse, because then Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard just like hang out in the castle for the entirety of the second season. And it's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into it now, but I wish Castlevania could do more than Nugget Kiss and have a TV show that's not really even all that good. But the worst part about it is that even if Castlevania did come back, they would bring it back as a Metroidvania, because those are in, people love those. I don't know if people are even really a fan of classic Castlevania anymore, and those are the Castlevania games that I actually like. So yeah, again, even if Castlevania does come back, it'll be in a form that I don't like anyway. But to bring that back to Dead Cells, Dead Cells is a sort of Metroidvania, but it's also a roguelike, which are two genres that I don't like. I do not like Metroidvanias, and I don't like roguelikes. So why is it that I fucking love Dead Cells? It's one of my favorite games of all time. And I think it comes down to two things that have to relate to each of the genres that I pointed out before. So in terms of Metroidvanias, the way Dead Cells overcomes that part is backtracking is insanely fast. You very, very frequently do not have to walk back over areas you've already been to. You can just teleport wherever you need to go. And enemies don't respawn. So in general, Dead Cells is just very, very quick about getting you where you need to go. So the Metroidvania trapping of, hey, go back to some place you've already been, asshole, that I don't like, just doesn't exist in Dead Cells at all. On top of the fact that you don't have to look at everything. I usually do, because it's just better for runs if you explore an entire floor. But you don't have to go for everything. A Metroidvania will tell you, hey, you gotta go get this thing in this other place to progress with the game. But you don't have to do shit in Dead Cells. As long as you have a weapon, you can find a door and go into the door. And then in terms of the roguelike element, how Dead Cells gets over that, is that, again, Dead Cells is a very, very fast-paced game, so the repetition, it doesn't really get old, at least not often. Because the problem I have with roguelikes repeating themselves is that the gameplay is either not interesting enough for me to want to engage with it over and over and over again in the same ways, or I don't like that my progress is getting reset every time because I liked where I was at in the game and I don't like having to restart all that. But with Dead Cells, when you repeat a run, you don't really reset yourself all that far back. It'll be like, what, an hour of progress at most? And even then, in that hour of progress, what did you actually do? You went through a couple of floors, you grabbed a couple of weapons, you fought a couple of enemies, and that's something you can always do better next time. So it doesn't really feel all that much like you're getting reset, because you did get to do stuff, you grabbed more cells, you upgraded more things, and you have more knowledge and skills. So when you go back in next time, it won't be as bad. Now, to be fair to roguelikes, a lot of them do this. This is kind of just how a lot of them works. It's why they're roguelikes and not roguelites, I think. Because I believe that roguelikes are the ones where you get to keep some progress, and roguelites are the ones that hard reset you, but I might have them backwards. But it's not like roguelites where everything resets. Most roguelikes will give you some sort of progression in between runs, but the problem I have with most roguelikes is just that they don't do it very well, and I think Dead Cells does it well, and for the reasons I've already explained. So that's that. So to make a long story short, yeah, I like Dead Cells a lot, and I'll be playing it more. I don't know if I'll be talking about it much in the Backlog Bunker, because I've said a lot of what I even want to say about the game here, and I'm just gonna play it forever because I love Dead Cells until I beat it, but we'll see. And finally, for a discussion topic for this week, this is old news at this point, but this is what I get for taking a month off. Is Shadow Labyrinth actually Pac-Man? Which, if you don't know, Shadow Labyrinth is a game that's going to be coming out semi-soonish, where it's a gritty roguelike with Pac-Man elements in it. And it was one of the episodes on the Secret Level series, which was made by the people who made Love, Death, and Robots, which makes me sad, because it means that Secret Level means that we're going to take longer to get Season 4 of Love, Death, and Robots, which is a show I actually like. But that's besides the point. People were having a huge argument on Twitter a while ago, being like, Shadow Labyrinth is not representative of Pac-Man, because Pac-Man's supposed to be joyous and happy, but this is all gritty and bleh. But then people were responding to that by going, oh, why you people hate adaptations? It's supposed to be different. It's taking the game elements and reinterpreting them for bleh, bleh, bleh. And it's all just the same shit from Twitter.com. So, to throw in my 2 cents, like many things on Twitter.com, everyone who ever talks about this thing is too far at either extreme. Shadow Labyrinth is not some completely horrible adaptation of Pac-Man, but at the same time, this does not mean that every adaptation should just be able to do whatever the fuck it wants with the source material. Or at the very, very least, that whatever they do with the source material doesn't necessarily mean that it's good just because it's different. To give a point to the people who think that Shadow Labyrinth is cool, they're right, it is a very cool interpretation of Pac-Man. Because the Pac-Man stage has always been called a maze when it really isn't that. It's a square, and not a very hard to figure out square either. So reinterpreting it here as an actual labyrinth is interesting. Aside from the ghosts not really being ghosts and having other creatures in the maze that aren't in the original game, obviously, I think that they are an interesting adaptation of the elements of Pac-Man translated to a different kind of setting that isn't just like arbitrary game weirdness. However, to give a point to the people who think Shadow Labyrinth sucks because of its tone, they are right. It's really lame that so many adaptations decide to go with thing, but it's cool and dark and edgy. Remember how in Pixels, Adam Sandler was like, Pac-Man's the bad guy? And that's like a meme? That's literally what this is. Pac-Man's the bad guy. What if Pac-Man was like this evil robot that like takes over your body and turns you into like this huge black creature that swallows things up without I don't care. I don't care. I have seen too much of thing but cool and edgy for this to be any different from the rest of them. And I'm of the opinion that just because something is overused doesn't make it bad, because when you objectively view things, you do it in a vacuum. It doesn't matter if everyone else is already doing it. Does this thing do it well? So that's not even what I'm talking about. I don't know whether or not it does it well, because the secret level episode is 8 minutes long, and the game isn't out yet. So we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the way people feel about it, and the way people feel about it, the reason everyone is mad about it not representing Pac-Man as a tone, is because the tone it actually is representing is one people don't care about. Some people tried to compare it to Bomberman Zero, and the response that they would get is, no, that's totally different though, but people wouldn't really explain why it was different. And to give you perspective on how outdated this topic is, when I first wrote the note on the Bomberman Zero thing, the words that I wrote were, people try to act like it isn't a Bomberman Act Zero situation, but that's just cope, which was, at the time, a reference to a thing DSP was saying that was really funny, but time moves on. But to put it into real human words, yeah, no, that's just not true. It is very much like Bomberman Act Zero. They said, hey, what if Bomberman, but it's cool and edgy, and people did not like it. So why are you surprised when people are, take Pac-Man, but cool and edgy, and people are like, no, we don't like this. Like, where were these people when Bomberman Act Zero came out? Were they like, this is actually a really cool interpretation of Bomberman? No, these people didn't exist back then, and I almost certainly don't exist now. It's just Twitter.com being Twitter.com. The same as when Sonic 06 fans come out of the woodwork, but different conversation. I'll admit, I want to know more about Shadow Labyrinth than the actual story the game wants to present. Why is Pac-Man the bad guy? But until it comes out, all we have is the impression it gave us, and the impression it gave us is that it's kinda stupid. Interesting, might be good, but stupid. But I guess you could say that about my own videos. Heyo, see you guys next time.